thank you for joining today's virtual education program with Cancer Support Community Los Angeles. I am Larissa Montalvo, and I welcome you to this week's webinar titled Go Grocery Shopping with a Dietitian, virtually. Today we'll be joined by Tamar Rothenberg, a registered dietitian nutritionist, to learn how to navigate the grocery store for optimal nutrition, create nutrient-rich meals and snacks with ingredients found in grocery stores, and how to make a plan and stick to it. That's always the hardest part, isn't it? Tamar will also share how to decode labels, save money, and be a confident shopper. And she'll even be sharing a cooking video and recipe at the end. But before we begin, if this is your first time joining us, Cancer Support Community Los Angeles is a premier nonprofit organization providing vital social and emotional support to families facing cancer, including patients, caregivers, and their loved ones, all at no cost. Our programs include support groups, healthy lifestyle classes, social activities, and educational programs such as this one. If you'd like to learn more about our services or watch past webinars, please visit our website at www.cancersupportla.org. Without further ado, I would like to welcome today's speaker. Tamar Rothenberg is a registered dietitian nutritionist who specializes in nutrition for breast cancer thrivers in her private practice in Los Angeles. She has a certificate of training in vegetarian nutrition, and she cuts through the confusing nutrition information to help you get your power back. She's also an adjunct professor of nutrition at Touro College. Tamar has long been a friend and partner of CSCLA, and our Chief Clinical Officer, Dr. Shannon La Cava, even had the amazing privilege to co-facilitate a study with Tamar a few years ago that was later published, titled Coping with Cancer in the Kitchen. We are so happy to have you back. Welcome back, Tamar.
Thank you, Larissa. Hi, everyone. Good to see you. So, are you ready to go shopping? We're going grocery shopping virtually. And just to be clear, we're going grocery shopping, not shoes. Sorry. So, let's start right away. All right, so today you're going to go shopping with me virtually, and I'll show you a few recipes, and if you stay to the end, Larissa's going to give you the recipes, and then we'll have a quick Q&A. But of course, if you don't understand something I'm saying at the time, feel free to chat, and I'll answer your questions. Okay, so I'm already seeing some grocery carts. I see carrots, rice, tuna fish, nice. Greek yogurt, peanut butter powder, and blueberries. Milk, grapefruit juice, and Cheerios. Well, that's a cheerful cart. And kale, coffee, and chicken. Oh yes, coffee, always. Strawberries, cucumbers, beets, arugula. Ooh, that's a nice combo. And strawberries, bone broth, bananas. Wow. Apricot jam, whole wheat bread, sugar snap peas. There's a smart shopper. Milk, apples, and lettuce. Fruit, veg, lean protein. Well, that about covers it. Half and half coffee, cat treats. We didn't include pets. Egg salad. Oh, eggs, salad, bell peppers. Salsa, yum. Salad mix and chicken breasts. Ground turkey, yogurt, apples, sourdough bread. Very nice. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay. All right, so let's what we're going to go over here is the dreaded answer, the dreaded question, what's for dinner, right? Don't you hate hearing that? So we're going to navigate the grocery store so that you're confident to create a kitchen supportive of consuming very nutrition-packed meals and snacks. Snacks are your opportunity to include more nutrition, right? We're going to identify a variety of food sources in the different zones of the grocery store that are particularly packed with nutrition. And then we're going to create nutrient-rich meals and snacks with some of the ingredients that you found in your grocery store. Now, what I hear from clients is that food shopping is challenging for many different reasons. Whether, during the pandemic, we figured out new ways to shop. We either did it online or went very quickly through the grocery store, right? Or we're experiencing fatigue and it just takes too much energy to shop, or we don't know even where to start. So I'm going to give you these tips today. But first, if we want to plan a good shopping experience, we have to figure out, what do we really want on our plate? What does a healthy eating plate really look like? So I like this plate. It's the Harvard Healthy Eating Plate. You can structure your plate either in quarters. Of course, we don't really eat like this every meal, but you can have it in your head about what foods to include. So you can either do it in quarters, where you have vegetables, fruits, and then a quarter plate is whole grains, and a quarter plate is your protein, which can be plant-based or meat, and you'll change it up every meal. Or you can make really 2/3 of your plate plant-based and then leave room for the type of protein that you like. So we do find that the evidence is, if 75% of your plate is plants, fruits, vegetables, and grains, that's the minimum percentage of plants to consume for optimal health benefits. And of course, you can always opt to make your plate 100% plant-based, but that can seem overwhelming to some people. You do want to include those whole grains. Most of the time, they are rich in fiber, which flushes out toxins from your body. And then the 25% of the plant food that's protein would be things like beans or tofu or whatever your preference is. And as you see, your healthy fats are off to the side because they are energy dense. So calories are energy. They're not the enemy. They're something we need. And what I want you to notice about the plate is that there's a balance. You want that balance. So for example, if we go to this screen here about the balance, all our food is based on macronutrients. These are things we need a lot of. So that would be your carbs, your plant, vegetables and fruits, and your protein. Those are your three main macronutrients. So I want you to think of your plate as having either 2 or 3 of those macronutrients. So for example, for a meal, you'd probably want all 3 of them. You want, protein, you want your vegetables and fruits, and you want a little olive oil maybe on your salad or some kind of fat. And then if you're having a snack, you would have 2 of the 3 macronutrients. You could choose not to have the whole grain. You could have the healthy protein and the fruits. So an example would be, for a snack, maybe you'd have a dried apricot with some walnuts. So actually, those are all 3 without thinking about it. So you're getting your fats from the walnuts, you're getting a little protein, and you're getting a fruit. So just always think of that balance when you're going into to shopping mode, so you can really fill your plate that way. So now if we're navigating these aisles, and things have really changed. If you look at, you walk into Trader Joe's or even Ralph's now, it's set up more like a farmer's market, that you encounter the fruits and vegetables first, because that's what customers want now. And then we used to tell people to avoid the inner aisles, and it's not true, because you found out during the pandemic that those are very important foods for your shelf-stable closet. They're easy to transport, they're easier to find. And so those are actually very important parts of our diet. So on the outskirts now, we find our eggs, dairy, and juice, meat, poultry, your deli, which I'll give you some strategies for, bakery, and then your produce and frozen. And then on the inner aisles, what we call the shelf-stable aisles, you're going to find canned goods, pasta, condiments are really important for flavoring, your snacks, which we can build in a healthy way. And we used to have more bulk bins, which are really kind of gone during the pandemic because of COVID concerns. I don't know if they'll be coming back. Okay, so let me give you that first tip when you're navigating these aisles. Is when you walk in, you're going to start in the produce section and you're going to aim for 50% of your cart, just fruits and vegetables. You're going to start that way. You know, maybe you're coming in with a shopping list for meals. That's where you're going to start. That sets you off on the right foot right away and gives you a better idea of what you're going to be planning. And why do we start with these plant foods? So you're getting all your micronutrients, your vitamins and minerals from plant foods. These are very, very important. And the color is a clue that it's something your body needs. So from your leafy greens, you're getting vitamin K and folate for a good cell turnover. Your bright orange, whether it's an orange or a sweet potato, has that vitamin A. Cruciferous, really important for breast cancer. Thrivers, those are your anti-inflammatory compounds. Those are found in cauliflower and broccoli and kale. And then your berries, really good for maintaining brain health, especially after chemo. And then citrus, vitamin C, is a powerful healing antioxidant. And then for gut recovery, if you're going through and finishing treatment, you'll want to help feed your bugs in your gut. And those are what we call prebiotics. So those are your bananas, onions, garlic, leeks, and cabbage. So here are some shopping tips when you're going for produce. You want to choose produce that's fresh and firm with unwilted leaves, smooth, with very few blemishes, bruises, or off colors. And here's my second tip. You want to choose or try to choose produce that's in season. Why? Because it's more likely to be at peak flavor. It's more likely to be fresh and transported locally, so less time being transported. And it's usually on sale because it has a short season. So you want to aim for those produce in season first. And then if you can't find the produce item that you want, don't be afraid to substitute it for a frozen item, depending on your cooking method. It's just as nutritious, and sometimes it's going to be cheaper because they're on sale as well. So moving on to meat and seafood. Meat and seafood is something we call high biological value protein because it has a lot of protein per ounce. That doesn't mean you can't meet your needs on a vegetarian diet, but it can be challenging going through treatment to be 100% vegetarian. So what does meat offer? It offers, of course, iron and zinc, B vitamins, magnesium, vitamin E, and from fish we're getting those really important heart healthy and brain healthy omega-3 fatty acids. So some shopping tips when you're going for these proteins: you want to choose whole birds and whole roasts for better value. They're usually cheaper and easy to make sandwiches from. The pre-cut pats are really for convenience, so that's why they're more expensive. You want to pack your shopping cart and grocery bag. Always make sure the raw meat and the poultry is on the bottom of the cart so you don't have the cross contamination, right? I do see people pile the meat on top of everything else. That's not really a good idea. Somebody asked me to repeat which veggies fruits are good for chemo brain. That would be your berries. So we do have research to support this. In terms of the seafood, what you want to choose is a firm flesh and a very mild seafood odor. Seafood does still have an odor. It doesn't mean it's spoiled, but you want it to be mild. And then if you're choosing a whole fish, you want it to have clear, kind of bulging eyes and bright red gills. So let's go into these labels. They can be very confusing. What do they mean? And you'll see them on all kinds of items now. So these you'll find on meat and poultry. So the only one I want you to really pay attention to, the only one that's regulated, is the USDA organic label. That's the only one you can be assured that farmers are adhering to. Everything else is optional, may not mean what it says. So organic means that they're raised in living conditions that are similar to the way they should be raised. So they have natural behaviors, they're being accommodated. They're fed 100% organic feed, they forage, and they don't have antibiotics or hormones. I will say that chicken is not allowed to have hormones. So if you see hormone-free on chicken, it's just a marketing ploy because legally they're not allowed to give them hormones. And by the way, even if a beef is what's called organic, they are allowed to give them antibiotics if they're sick, but they have to wait a certain amount of time before slaughter. So everything's not 100%. Natural has literally no meaning, but that's why it has to include a statement. What does that actually mean? So you'll see something like no artificial ingredients or minimally processed. And then grass-fed, no one's really monitoring that, so we don't know. But grass-fed means that they're fed only grass and forage, with the exception of milk that's consumed prior to weaning. So they're not fed grain or grain byproducts, and they're supposed to have continuous access to pasture during the growing season. But again, it's not regulated, so you're paying a lot more, and we don't know if they're really doing that. Okay, so this is very important. I get a lot of these questions on fish. Is wild caught better than farmed? Which fish is highest in omega-3s? And what about mercury in fish, right? Should I avoid it? So let's go over the mercury issue first. This is a good list. You can take a picture of this, but it's also found on the FDA website. So what I suggest for cancer patients is to follow the same recommendations for pregnant women. They're told to have minimal mercury, so I suggest that. And you can find that list on the FDA. But in general, you want to avoid the really large fish, except for salmon. Why? Because the large fish eat all the small fish, and then the mercury accumulates in their tissues, and mercury never leaves. It's like lead. So you want to avoid what you see here: shark, swordfish, and big-eye tuna. One serving a week is okay of Chilean sea bass, halibut, snapper, those are some of your choices, and albacore and yellowfin tuna. And then for the best, meaning you're okay with 2-3 servings a week, which is also recommended for pregnant women. Those are your really small fish, and they're packed with omega-3s. So anchovies, cod, you can see the list here. Salmon's a great choice, sardines, trout, and tuna that's canned light. So which are, I'm sorry, I see here a question. Why does canned tuna have look? It depends on the type of tuna. So certain types of tuna have less mercury. Just in the way it accumulates in their body or the size of the fish. So that's why this is recommended here. Okay, and in terms of omega-3s, which fish happen to have the largest amount of omega-3s? So the fish that has 500 milligrams per 3 ounces serving is your herring, your salmon, your tuna, your sardines, and your trout. So those are really great choices. They also happen to be on the good or best list. So choose from those sources. This is hard to see, but you can find this on the Monterey Bay Aquarium. It's a pamphlet you can download called Seafood Watch. It also gives you a list of the best choices, and it includes sustainability, how they're caught or what fish are in danger. So it's a nice guide to have. I really recommend it. Okay, so now we're in the inner sanctum, the inner aisles, the shelf-stable aisles, which we found during the pandemic was especially useful, right? So, there's great things to find in those aisles. You can find whole grains like oats, brown rice, quinoa, farro. It's a good time to try a new whole grain. Your dried beans is an incredible option because it has such a different variety. They're really budget friendly. They're 13 cents a serving. A can feed 4 people. So look for the low sodium, or just rinse the can. You get rid of 90% of the sodium. You have broths, which are great for meal planning. Nuts and seeds. You can try things like hemp hearts, chia, almond, walnuts. Your nut butters, a nice protein option in treatment. And your condiments. So if you're going to go more plant-based, your food has to taste good. So you want to use things like Dijon mustard, vinegars, capers, hot sauce, pesto, depending on what you can tolerate. And then, of course, dark chocolate. Of course, I have to include that here. You want to take your reading glasses and check for allergens if you need to. Soy and wheat are commonly found in broths and soups. And the newest allergen that's going to be on the label is sesame, because a lot more people than we know have that allergy. So continuing in our shelf stable, you have a lot of these impulsive buys in this aisle, like snacks and drinks. So you can replace some of them with better options. If you're going for crackers, go for the high fiber whole grain crackers if you like them. If you're looking at soda, get some 100% juice and mix it with club soda or seltzer. If you want that trail mix because of those lovely colored candies, buy different options and make your own. It's really easy. And then you can accommodate how much sugar you want. And those gummies, instead of gummies, you can choose more dried fruit like apricots, mango, tart cherries, and things like that. So flavor up your options. Those are nice things to go for. Whole grain or whole wheat crackers, I'm asked. They're both the same. I'm going to have a little quiz on whole grain, so hold on. We'll go over that. Right here. So now you're in the bakery aisle and you're wondering, what's a whole grain? What kind of bread should I buy? So here are some, tips to really figure out what are your best options. Quick quiz. Which is whole grain on this list? Stone ground, unbleached, multigrain, or wheat? All or none? Anybody want to share? I can quickly go through this quiz for you. So actually, none of these. These are all marketing terms. Thank you for sharing. I see some Q&A. I have really well-educated viewers here. So, right, none of them are whole grain. Stone ground is just a process. Unbleached just means unbleached, literally. Multigrain can be 99% refined, 1% whole wheat. And wheat just means wheat, but we don't know which part of the kernel that they're actually using. So what does whole grain mean? And don't get caught up in the, all the words on the label. This is what you want to look for. These are the varieties: brown rice, wild rice. Oats are always going to be whole grain. Bulgur, cracked or crushed wheat, any kind of barley, and Graham flour. The original Graham flour is whole grain. And by the way, popcorn is also, it's not on this list. And the newest, which I happen to love, is whole white wheat. So that's a new version of whole grain, 100% whole wheat that is processed in a way that it tastes a little more, less grainy and more refined. So what are whole grains? When you look at the bread, is it darker in color? Are they low carb? Or do they contain the entire kernel, the bran, germ, and endosperm? Are they organic? Does that mean a whole grain? Or what about fortified? So I have C. Correct. Ding, ding, ding. So only the grain that contains the entire kernel, the bran, germ, and endosperm. Nothing is wasted. It's incredible. It's like a life force because it has omega-3s, it has protein a little, it has fiber, it has almost everything you need, vitamins and minerals. So you want to go for that whole grain version. And now, how do you tell what's always whole grain? Is it oatmeal, Is it enriched? Is it 100% wheat braid? So I'll tell you right off, none of these, except oatmeal, because oatmeal, as I said, is always whole grain. Enriched means it's added, it's fortified. 100% wheat, again, we said wheat can mean anything, right? So don't get tricked up by all these words. Okay, so now looking at labels, there's always a lot of labels thrown on your bread, right? Which guarantees a half serving or more of whole grain. So as we said, all natural, heart healthy, 100% wheat, these are meaningless. These are put by the manufacturer. There's no regulation. E is correct. Well, E just means organic. It doesn't mean 100% whole wheat. So when we're talking here about what's a whole grain, it would be D. So that, again, that's voluntary, but it does indicate that that bread has more whole grains per serving. And I'll show you an example of what that looks like here. So if we look at Dave's bread, which is now popular, it's a good whole wheat version, whole grain version. So you see it has 5 grams fiber per slice, which is really nice, has omega-3s, has 22 grams whole grains, and here's your label, your whole grain label that shows you that. So that's a nice thing. And I want to show you another new thing on the label. So this is per slice. You know, if you're having a sandwich, you would double this. It does have 5 grams of fiber, which is nice. So for a sandwich, you're getting 10 grams. But it does have added sugar. So this is a new thing on the label. It's called includes added sugars. So it used to be you just saw total sugars. You didn't know what was added by the manufacturer. Now they can't hide behind that. So includes 5 grams, meaning they've added all the sugar. There is no naturally occurring sugar. So that's something to watch for, because that's a little more than a teaspoon. If you're having a sandwich, that's almost 3 teaspoons of sugar right there. And this is one of their lower sugar versions. So kind of something to watch. But it is, if you see here, sugar is the 3rd ingredient, which means there's a lot more of it. Whatever is up front is the most heavily weighted ingredient. But you see it says whole wheat, whole flax seeds. So that's your clue. Whole, there's oatmeal here. There's lots of different flour. Cornmeal does not mean whole, but they filled it up with enough whole grain that it makes a difference. Okay, and molasses is also a sugar. So there's different type. Brown rice flour adds more sugar. So there are quite a few different types of sugar here. Let me go. What is sprouted bread? Yeah, that's a great question. Sprouted bread, it can either be wheat-free or not. I will say that it's a good option. Usually it's a little healthier, but the benefits of sprouted grains are lost when they're exposed to high heat. So you're not getting the benefits that you think, but it can be a nice option. Okay, so let me go back to, let me go back to my handy dandy PowerPoint. Okay, so now we know about the whole grain logo. Now we're in the frozen food aisle, which is your friend. There happens to be extremely nutritious. They're frozen at the peak of flavor. So it really depends on your cooking method. But there are great options now for quick meal prep, like frozen quinoa, frozen brown rice. You don't have to wait 45, 50 minutes to cook. Rice cauliflower is a nice option. I make muffins, savory muffins with them, to pump up the fiber. And vegetable blends. Butternut squash is a nice option. You don't have to sit there and chop when you're tired. And berries. So berries don't last long in the fridge. If you're making a smoothie, perfectly fine to use frozen berries here. Okay, so again, let's go into what do these words really mean when you're going grocery shopping in terms of dairy and eggs. Does it have to be organic? What does pasture raised mean? What about free range? Because you are paying a lot more for that, right? Which type of milk is best? And is yogurt healthy? So let's go answer some of these questions. And yogurt is healthy, so that's not a question. But let's look first. There's a lot of information here, but this is a milk alternative comparison chart. If you want to look for something that's equivalent to dairy, what I would say is first look at the protein. So which option, here's your cow milk, which option is closest to milk? If you look at these options, right? Your soy milk is going to be your best options, especially in treatment when you do need more protein. So it is equivalent to milk. And most of the same things are equivalent because they add calcium, they add phosphorus, things that are naturally found in milk. And they even add vitamin D and things like that. So soy is a good option, even for breast cancer thrivers. They can have soy. It's a perfectly healthy option. Your other options, it depends on your flavor and what you're doing. So almond milk literally has no protein, you see, because it's mostly water. So 1 gram of protein. Coconut milk would be a flavoring option. It doesn't really offer that much. And rice and oat. Rice is good for gluten-free, but it does have more carbohydrates if you're watching. And oats actually have more sugar. Okay, so I have some Q&A. Here's a question. I've heard conflicting things about soy. There is no conflict. The research is it's perfectly safe. Does yogurt have the same vitamins and minerals as milk? It depends on the yogurt, and you have to look at the whole picture. It depends on how much sugar is added, how it was processed, the different types of yogurt. So I can't really answer that off the cuff. Is goat milk? Oh, that's an interesting question. I think it is a good alternative, but I think it has a little less lactose, but it's not lactose free, right? So it depends on what you're looking for. I make my yogurt myself. Ooh, I'll be over. Okay, any more questions here? Okay, I only use milk and starter. Excellent. All right, let's look at some other common labels that we see, and is it worth the money to spend? So again, the only thing that's regulated on all these labels is what? The USDA organic. So it means they're fed organic food. They have USDA organic standards, no antibiotics, and non-GMO. I don't know how important that is. So free range, all these labels don't really mean what you think, because we tend to have this lovely image of them hanging out in the pasture. They're not really. So for example, for free range, they're still in indoor housing, but they have a little more space. They must have continuous access to the outdoors, but only during their laying cycle. So they're not really roaming around, hanging out. Pasture raised, that literally has no meaning. There's no industry-wide regulation. It just means maybe they're grazing outside and they have access to different food. Free range, again, it doesn't mean what you think. They may be housed in an enclosure, but they have access to the outdoors, but they don't have as much space as you think. And they do eat grain, but they can forage for wild plants and insects. So it depends on what's important to you, really, because these all have different price ranges. And there is no nutritional difference unless they're fortified. I have seen, like Eggland has a nice nutritional profile, and the price is right. They do add more vitamin D and things like that. So it depends on what's important for you right now. So I wouldn't get too caught up, because the prices can be really very high on these. The other interesting thing is some of them claim that they feed them only vegetarian feed. And the producer does have to maintain documentation that no animal byproducts were used. But I will tell you that chickens are not vegetarians. So I don't know who they benefit. If it makes you feel better, okay, but it's not great for the chicken. So keep that in mind. Okay, so let's go over dates, because I know that's another very important subject. It is very confusing. Why is it confusing? Because I will tell you this fact right now. Besides infant formula, product dating is not required. So all these things that you see on products are completely voluntary. They're done for the manufacturer. They're really not done for the consumer. So the manufacturer wants to make sure their stock is rotated, so they do use these dates. Now, if it is, good to see them because you want to know really how old this product is, but it really has more to do with the peak quality of the product than if the product is spoiled. So best is used by, that has to do with the best flavor and quality. It doesn't mean like the day that date is, it's spoiled. Sell by is for the store to know how long they can display the product, and that's for their inventory management. And use by is the date recommended, but again, that has to do with peak quality. It's not going bad. Freeze by is again when the best quality is that you can freeze it by. So, take a look at the dates, but don't go crazy. So, for example, eggs, sometimes they have different dates on eggs, but they actually last 30 days, a month in your refrigerator. So you can keep them for a month in your fridge. Okay. So if you want to really save money, now that we're shopping more online, this is a great way to save money. You want to look at the per unit pricing, and some stores do on certain products show this. And this shows you per unit how much you're actually paying. Sometimes it depends on the brand. It depends on, the size of the product. So this is a great way to figure out what the value of the product is and if it's worth it for you. Okay, so deli, you probably think I'm going to tell you to avoid it, but I will give you some strategies for the deli. You want to, what I call are these hijackers. So hijackers, they're highly palatable. For example, sandwiches. Don't buy the sandwiches because the pre-made sandwiches are filled with deli meats, which cancer patients should avoid. They have a lot of cheese and mayonnaise-based salads. So like one sandwich can push your daily limit for sodium, fat, and calories. So buy the different components. Sandwiches are still kind of easy to make. But I will say the thing to buy is a rotisserie chicken because you can use them for sandwiches. They're usually lower in sodium and cost effective compared to something like deli meats. Pre-cut fruits and veggies are easy grab and go. And here's what I want you to do when you come to the deli is try a new food. If you're not sure if you like a certain food or a grain, like a farro salad or a tabbouleh salad, try it at the deli and see if you like it. I see some questions here. Oh, yes, can you repeat what you said about keeping eggs? No, you can keep it for a month, a total, in your refrigerator. So even though there may be a different date, if you bought it, you can keep it for 30 days after that in your fridge. Yeah, I'm sorry. I do speak fast. You can take camera shots of the slides, and this will also be recorded and put on Facebook and in the library, the Cancer Support Community Library. Okay, so finally, how do you make a plan grocery shopping? Of course, we know don't go hungry because then you'll do more impulsive shopping. I do find that now that I'm shopping more online, I'm not doing so much of that impulsive shopping. And just for your information, Walgreens and CVS is now testing getting rid of the snacks near the cashiers, putting more fruit and plant options. They're even going to be selling Beyond Meat, which is a plant-based option, so that's a nice thing to know that they're doing that. I have a question here about what about cold cuts. They are not recommended at all for cancer patients or in general, because they do raise your risk for cancer, different types of cancer, whether colon or even breast cancer. So all the cancer organizations recommend staying away from deli meats. Okay, so you want to check your weekly sales and special, obviously. You want to come in with a plan of at least 1 week of meals and snacks. Remember to start with your 50% fruits and vegetables. You want to use sales to stock up on staples, for example, frozen foods. And you want to have handy your shopping list. This would be, for example, in a shopping list. You could put it in a note form and then just type it in every week. There's a way, even if you're using Instacart, that you can have your most bought items. You can keep that as your shopping list. So it's a nice option to keep you on track. Okay, so I just want to end quickly with 2 recipes. We have Mediterranean oven packets 3 ways. What I like about this is you can use 3 different types of fish. So you'll see a video where they're using the 3 different types of fish, but it's the exact same recipe. So you're getting your omega-3s, and you can choose the fish that you most prefer. And then a really quick raspberry almond smoothie. Since you stuck it out to the end, you will be getting the recipe for this. So this is a raspberry almond butter smoothie. What I like about this is it's 2 servings. Each serving has the amount of whole fruit that you would have if you were eating it whole. A lot of people pack a lot of fruit into their smoothies. So this has almond milk, and that's for flavor. You can sub soy milk for the protein. Here's where you can use your frozen raspberries. A frozen banana makes it creamy, but you can use a regular banana. Almond butter for protein and some fat, satisfying fat, and then chia seeds for your fiber, and spinach. I promise you won't taste the spinach. If you need to sweeten it up, feel free to do that. But what I like about this is it's reminiscent of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And if you need that extra protein and treatment, add a scoop of unflavored protein powder. And chilled foods are sometimes easier to tolerate if you're having oral issues. Okay, and then this is the one I have a video on that we'll see right now. So this is using 3 types of fish. It's a Mediterranean meal packet. Again, what I like about it is you're going to pack in foil, but then you're going to line the foil with parchment paper so the fish is not getting that metallic taste that sometimes bothers you in treatment. And it really keeps all the juices together. It's a really easy recipe that you can change up the vegetables. So let's, I just see 2 questions here. Okay, so let's show the video and then I'll be happy to get to these questions. So here's your options. You can use flounders, salmon, or shrimp. And you can buy pre-cut veggies to make this a really quick meal. You would choose one of these. There's your parchment paper to seal in all the juices. So this is the exact same recipe with salmon. And here you could change up your preferred veggies. You could add in some fresh basil too. And here we're using flounder. These are all firm flesh fish, so they hold nicely in the packet. Minutes, you have dinner, a whole dinner. Add a grain or some good bread. Those are not my hands. Enjoy. So this is what I call the real fast food. 15 minutes, especially if you buy the pre-cut veggies. It's a great dinner to have on hand, and you can sub it with the type of fish your family loves. So just to sum up, you can find me here. Please connect with me. I love to hear from you. That's my website, my email. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I do have a private Facebook group for breast cancer thrivers, for fad-free nutrition. You're welcome to join. And I have a new nutrition course for breast cancer thrivers on the platform, my name, Tamar Rothenberg.podaya.com. So let me answer some of your questions here. Deli meats without nitrates, smoked turkey breasts. Okay, it's really meaningless, whether it's with or without nitrates. First of all, without nitrates, they're using something else called celery salt. We don't know yet how that reacts in your body. So there is no definitive answer if that's any healthier. And there are other compounds in deli meat that are not good for cancer. So that's why we say avoid all deli meats. Okay. What are your thoughts as to the new fake meat products like Beyond Meat? You know, I've changed my mind. I used to say it's like fast food, don't have them. But recently there was a study done where people replaced meat with Beyond Meat, and they had better outcomes, meaning their cholesterol still went down, heart health was better. So the only thing to watch for is, and they are revamping it now, but they're very high in sodium and very high in fat, more than regular meat. So it's a fun product, whether you're transitioning or you're completely plant-based. I think it's a great product, and it's good to include more of those instead of meat, as long as you're replacing meat. Okay. What about roasted chicken deli meat that's pre-cut? Okay. If it's a rotisserie chicken, not a deli meat, meaning it's not processed, it's just a whole roasted chicken that they've cut, that's perfectly fine. That's like you cooking a chicken and cutting it. If it's considered a deli meat, it is highly processed. So a deli meat is something that's unrecognizable, meaning it's a rolled meat like salami or, those long roasts. You can't really tell what's in there. So those are the things to avoid. Sausages, things like that. Those are considered deli meats. I've heard a lot about plastic particles in fish. Do I need to be worried about this? Okay, so the USDA does regulate fish and checks them. I haven't heard that that's really an issue. I would try to choose fish that's grown in this country. Tilapia is usually from China. So I would try to stick to locally sourced fish that's regulated, highly regulated. So I hope that answers your question. Why is your smoothie recipe using almond milk rather than non-fat milk? It's your choice, actually. You can use any type of milk, as you saw in the chart that I showed you. Feel free. Some people going through chemo are lactose intolerant, become lactose intolerant. That comes back usually after chemo. But in case you just don't want to deal with that, you can use almond milk. You can use soy milk, or you can use milk, whatever you can tolerate. So that's perfectly fine. Okay, not to burn food or cook at high heat because of contribution. Okay, so let me just tell you quickly, it is an issue, but it's only an issue for meat. For fish and vegetables, there's much fewer of those carcinogenic compounds. So you only have to worry about red meat, that if you're cooking it at high heat, like on a grill, where it comes down onto the fire, and then the way it's absorbed in your body also releases carcinogenic material. So it's only an issue with red meat, not with vegetables or fish. So stick to those. What veggies give the most flavor in your Mediterranean packet? Well, the great thing about this packet is you can tailor it the way you like. You can put in your favorite veggies. I happen to think that tomatoes add more kind of a saucy flavor to it, so that's a nice thing to use. And by the way, you could also use frozen veggies because you're steaming them, which is just like the microwave, so it works fine. Okay.
Thank you so much, Tamar.
You've been a great audience. Thank you so much.
It's been so wonderful to have you here with us today. For all of you who are joining us, just a couple notes. This is on Facebook Live, so if you do not want to wait for the recorded version to be added to our video library, you're more than welcome to go check it out at Cancer Support Community Los Angeles on Facebook. Otherwise, it is being recorded and will be up on our virtual library within the next month. I have also put that link in the chat room if you're here with us. If not, please feel free to join. Visit us at www.cancersupportla.org for our virtual library. And even more, Tamar has been so gracious to share a PDF version of the recipes that she shared with us today. So if you're interested in receiving a PDF version of those recipes, please feel free to email info@cancersupportla.org. Again, that's info@cancersupportla.org. I've also entered that into the chat room. Thank you so much for being here with us, Tamar, today. It is always a pleasure to have you. I always feel like I learn so much and I get so hungry. So I'm excited to go have some.
Well, it is lunchtime.
It is lunchtime. It's the perfect timing for all of us to go get some good veggies, right?
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank
Hope
you.
to see you live soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye.